You filled up your tank last week, and for a second, you just stared at the number on the pump. Not because you couldn't afford it, but because something felt off, like the math stopped making sense. Your paycheck is the same, but somehow everything costs more. Groceries, gas, even a flight you're thinking about booking. You're not imagining it. Something broke. And most people have no idea what it actually is. Hi, my name is Hughie. I've been watching markets long enough to know when something is actually serious versus when it's just headlines. This one is serious, and it's affecting your money right now, even if you haven't connected the dots yet. So let me walk you through what's actually going on, because there's a 30-mile stretch of water on the other side of the world, and it is quietly eating into your purchasing power, whether you're in the US, UK, or anywhere else. If this already feels a little too real, you might want to subscribe. Let's start simple. On February 28th, the US and Israel launched airstrikes on Iran. And Iran's response wasn't just military. They shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if you've never heard of it, think of it as the world's most important financial bottleneck. Before the war, roughly a fifth of all the oil traded globally passed through that one narrow waterway. Every single day, and then it was gone. The International Energy Agency described what followed as the most significant energy supply disruption in recorded history. That's not a small claim. They've been tracking oil markets since the 1970s. Now here's why this matters to you specifically. Most people think oil just means gas prices, but oil is embedded in almost everything you buy. It's in the cost of shipping your Amazon order. It's in the price of the food on your shelf because trucks run on diesel. It's in your electricity bill because energy costs flow into power generation. It's even in the plastic packaging your groceries come in. When oil prices rise sharply, everything else rises too, just slowly, on a delay. And that delay is the dangerous part, because by the time you feel it at the checkout counter, it's already been happening for weeks. Gas prices have been climbing across the US and Europe. Airline tickets are getting more expensive. Multiple major shipping and delivery companies have added fuel surcharges quietly. Not headline news. Just a few extra dollars here and there, which is exactly how these things work. Death by 1,000 small increases. But here's the part that most people aren't talking about. It's not just oil. The same waterway that carries oil also carries a massive portion of the world's fertilizer supply. And fertilizer is what grows your food. When that supply gets disrupted, it doesn't affect the grocery store immediately. It affects next season's crops. And the season after that. Fertilizer prices have been spiking in recent weeks across multiple markets. Reports from the US, UK, and parts of Asia are all pointing in the same direction. This isn't just an energy story. It's quietly becoming a food story too. If this blockade holds through the summer growing season, what you pay for basic groceries in the second half of this year could look very different from what you're paying today. Not dramatically overnight, but enough that you'll notice. Now here's the uncomfortable part. There is technically a ceasefire, declared in early April, but the waterway is still barely functioning. Traffic through the strait is a fraction of what it was before the war. Iran started charging ships to pass through. The US responded with its own counter-blockade of Iranian ports. So now you have both sides squeezing the same choke point simultaneously. Negotiations have stalled. There's no clear resolution timeline, and both sides have made fresh threats in the past week alone. This is not over. It's paused, and there's a difference. So what does all of this actually mean for your life right now? Inflation forecasts across the US and Europe have been revised upward since this started. The Federal Reserve was expected to cut interest rates this year. That is now looking much less likely. And that matters because higher rates mean your credit card balance costs more to carry. Your mortgage stays expensive. If you're thinking about buying a car or a home, the borrowing cost isn't coming down the way people expected. Your savings account might look fine on paper, but if inflation is running faster than your interest rate, you're actually losing ground every month. Quietly, without anything looking obviously wrong. And this is where it gets personal. You start making small adjustments, skipping the restaurant, choosing the cheaper option at the grocery store, holding off on the trip you wanted to take. Individually, each of those feels like a small decision. But together, they're telling you something. Your money isn't going as far as it used to. And that's not just a feeling. Here's the bigger picture. Major economic institutions, from the IMF to Oxford Economics to the OECD, are all running scenarios where, if this disruption continues, global growth slows significantly and recession risk rises. None of them are saying it's certain, but all of them are saying the risk is real and rising. The stock market so far hasn't fully priced this in because markets are betting on a quick resolution. Traders are optimistic, but the physical world where actual oil is being moved or not moved tells a different story. Markets price in hope, supply chains price in reality. And right now, those two are pointing in opposite directions. Here's the question I want to leave you with. If the largest energy disruption in modern history is already underway, and you're only just starting to feel the edges of it, what does it look like 3 months from now if nothing gets resolved? Because these things don't hit you all at once. They hit you gradually, at the pump, at the checkout, on your next credit card statement. In the raise, that doesn't come because your employer is also squeezed. The war may be on pause, but the economic ripple isn't. And the people who understand that early tend to make very different decisions than the people who figure it out late. If you want to actually understand how money really works in moments like this, subscribe. This is Hughie Capital.